In a minute. Okay.
There we go. Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and tonight we are joined by Jonathan Hurley from from Survivor Ghost Island. He's telling us this is the exclusive interview here. This is the first one he's done. He says he's nervous, so we're ready to come out here and beat him up a little bit.
I'll take it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan. This is going to be a lot of fun. We have a couple questions. We need you to clear up. We're going to need you to clear up a couple things because we've had one Malolo and two Navitis come on here. So we'll need you to clear up a couple things as we go along, especially about that campfire.
Something about a vomit
Sounds
pile.
good.
Yeah. But otherwise, this is, we keep it loose. So you just, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to tell us, we won't push you. We don't want to get in any trouble, but
But we do want to talk about Aunt Patty for 3 hours. So really,
yes. Might as well just skip everything else. Let's talk about Aunt Patty.
I was saying with Aunt Patty out there, that reward challenge, she was watching everybody, and I know you really weren't doing too hot in that challenge, but she was sitting on there smiling so big, it didn't matter who she was looking at. It looked like she was just watching a sporting
in her dress.
Event. Yeah, exactly.
In her dress, that poor dress. No, she must have been so hot.
I know.
So I guess we're going to talk about her. I saw that you had posted on Instagram, Jonathan, that was your third time ever seeing her in person. I remember there being a really cool story about that.
Yeah, like Aunt Patty came into my life in 2010. It was right after I turned 18. She was on my dad's side of the family, so she waited until I was old enough to kind of, know about that side, and if I was interested, I could go or not. But anyway, 2010, I had met her through Facebook, and in 2011, I had got to meet her in person for the first time in my area, in Pike County, Kentucky. And then the third time was in Fiji when she had ran out.
Oh my God.
She was at the Family Reward Challenge. But we have always stayed connected through Facebook. But yeah, that was the third time we'd ever been together.
I didn't know that. That's absolutely incredible. I had no idea that's
so
how
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of me paying her for everything that she had, gave me in my life. She gave me a new family. So it was nice having her out there. It was like a present to her.
That's really great.
Did she have fun?
Oh, she had the best time ever. Patty loved everybody. She was up late at night and in her hammock and just enjoying the waves, and she loved it. She had the best time ever.
That's amazing. All right, well, we can keep on talking. We'll talk about Aunt Patty as we go through, I guess. But so you got out there on day one on this Malolo tribe, and you guys just kept losing. And Brendan was telling us on the last podcast that they made it seem like you were going home in this first episode, but he was telling us that you really never had any chance of going home. Did you fit in right away?
Yeah, I definitely fit in. People had seen me day one working. Stephanie mentioned it on the show that I was a hard worker. So I definitely wanted to show people I could work hard, but also I was making relationships from day one. I was definitely talking to everybody and being that social butterfly that I can be. And it worked, that day. But, a lot of people think that they were like the ringleader of Malolo those first few days, but Malolo didn't stick together long enough for there to be a ringleader. We were kind of running chickens with our heads cut off those first few days, and I don't think everything was just like, I guess people were thinking they were this brute person they won there. No, we were all, we was all kind of new people and out here playing this game we never played before. So yeah, those first few days were crazy. I can get into anything you need me to.
Anything you want to tell us, that's for sure.
Definitely day one, Laurel was the first person that I had, really had an eye on. I made sure, first and foremost, to get her out to the side and kind of make a bond with her more than I had with other ones, because I liked Laurel from the get-go. And you seen it on the show, I was kind of like, we're good, girl, we're good. I never would lay it out like we need to be in alliance, but I always let her know that I loved her since day one and move her good, and that kind of flourished into the game. So day one was definitely getting Laurel on my side, and also just showing people I could work hard. And then it came to day three when we had to go to the immunity challenge and we lost. And then it ended up being Jacob going to Ghost Island, and he was our first target, to go home that night. And then it threw us all in a whirlwind. But Jonathan here gave everybody initiative. Hey, you need to tell a person like Gonzalez that you can vote for me or you're going to vote for me tonight. And I gave them that so that, everything wouldn't go all crazy. They had they had a play in motion, and hopefully it would stay, you know, we would stick to it. So that night, I didn't feel like I was going home up until the point that she had got up in Brendan's ear.
Yeah.
That's what scared me the most. I was like, well, maybe she did have a, you know, maybe a stronger bond with some of these to be so, you know, comfortable enough to get up and speak to somebody's ear at the first tribal council. You know, I never seen that happen before. So I was nervous at that point, but then when the votes were read, you know, it felt like, well, okay, I shouldn't have been too nervous. You know, I'm here.
Were you concerned at all once that started happening that possibly Gonzalez could have had an idol or something and then she sniffed out? So maybe you throw your vote at somebody else to force a tie since you knew that you were going to get the other vote because you had thrown that out there to everybody.
Yeah, it was possible. It was possible, but I was also like, I guess, comfortable enough that it didn't really irritate me enough to maybe try to do something like that because I had laid this plan out and I felt comfortable enough with the relationships that I had made that it would stick, and it ended up sticking. It was just that she jumped up, and that's the only thing. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, this girl may have a plan up her sleeve that I didn't know about because I had my plan. It was simple, just tell people to vote for me, to tell Gonzalez that, and yeah, it's something that it was a crazy third day because Jacob did leave and go to Ghost Island, and he was where everybody was targeting at that time. So,
did the whispering ever make it to you, or was it just? I think we were with Brendan, and he said it was just him, Michael, and Gonzalez, and then it just kind of cut off there, or was it quick and then you guys just got to the vote?
Well, Gonzalez had jumped up to Brendan and was whispering in his ear, and I'm thinking, well, what's going on? But then everybody else started whispering in the ears. It like gave everybody that, you know, that go ahead to kind of see what's going on. But then it was me going home, so I didn't want to be whispering, you know, to Gonzalez. So I just sat there, and then I kind of like done this, and Jeff was like, "Why are you moving away?" I'm like, "I'm just nervous because it made me so nervous." In that moment of time, everybody whispering, and I'm just sitting here like a, you know, not on a log, you know, just thinking, oh my God, what's really going to happen tonight?
And so when Jacob went to Ghost, like when Jacob goes to Ghost Island, do you think the other tribe, did they actually think that he was confident? Because he seemed very cocky when he got out there. Did they actually think he was that confident, or did they send him because they actually thought he was going to be a first boot?
It could have been more or less. He could have been a first boot, but I really think that his reverse psychology worked. Because he was putting it into her head, you know, when he was standing there calling us the greatest tribe ever, which I spoke up and was like, no, honey, you got to put the work in. You got to put the work in to be the best. You can't be saying that, Jacob. And I did. It didn't make the show. But, yeah, Jacob was someone that probably was targeted, and they knew that. But also, he really spoke up and was like, well, I'll do this. And it ended up working out to his favor until we hit the water challenge, and he tried that again, and it didn't work out.
What was it like having them call your name out?
Oh, it's amazing. You know, I just had this thing. A lot of people gave me smack for it over the challenge, but I really felt like it was a great moment for me. And to hear, you know, the other team pick me just because they felt like I had a great moment, that's a plus. You know, you don't think that's a bad thing at all. You know, you done something that really sparked something in their minds to pick me to go to Ghost Island and not Jacob.
Yeah. And so with that challenge too, I mean, that was the big Donathan moment at the beginning there, where it was like, all right, everybody, this is going to be one of the more likable people on this season. In that moment when James was struggling, it was you were the only other one who could really get in there, right? There was nobody else that really could jump in. And then you go in and you got it done. I mean, how long did that actually take? Because they made it seem like it took 2 seconds, but did it take you a little bit, or did you just go right down?
Well, I'll back it up just a minute. Like before we go into the challenge, we, you know, strategize. And, you know, I kept telling them repeatedly, guys, I've not really swam in the ocean before. I've not really had a big obstacle course challenge like this before. You know, I've never done any things of these nature. So when I was there telling them, like, guys, you can't have me going down 8 feet. You can't have me, you know, you can't, I'm not your guy for this. And then they was like, well, if you'll just swim out to the end, we'll let you go with James. And then James can go, he can dive down 8 feet. And then at the little thing there we were standing on before the challenge started, I looked at James. I was like, are you sure you can go down 8 feet, James? He's like, yes, man, I can. Just get to the end. And then when I got to the end of it, I had smoked for 10 years before I played Survivor. I was so out of breath. I could not catch my breath for anything. And it's scary because when you're in the big ocean water like that and you don't catch your breath, you know you got, you know, help around you if the same thing was to happen. But it's still intimidating. So I had to catch my breath there because I was the only one that could go into the water. So I went into the water, had to collect my breath again because I had to swim over there. Had my goggles on. I had to see because I didn't know if the salt water burned your eyes or not.
It will.
I promise it will.
People were like, "Why did he go for goggles?"
Yeah.
So I was, I was oblivious to that, but I put them on and I went down in one try. I made it down and hit the lever, about turned it the wrong way, so I had to turn it back the other way. And it was a big moment for me. It's something that I overcame, and it was something that I never dreamed would have been such a big moment. Day 6 in the game, but it ended up happening. And a lot of people gave me hell for it, but I stand by it 100%. It was a big moment for me.
Well, you ended up getting it done, so end of the day.
And I told them, bitches, I was trying not to do anything like that because I knew I was weaker than a lot of those people. And to see James struggle scares me. I didn't think he would have that hard of a time. But he did. But poor guy, he really felt bad about that. But, James is my guy. He's somebody I got close to out there as well. So I didn't hold it against him or anything.
That's why James is a sprinter and not a swimmer, right? That's
exactly. Yeah.
That's really funny. Yeah, so like I remember like watching that challenge, and you have to be sitting there, James, this huge guy who's just muscle on top of muscle, such like a calm demeanor, and he's just floating in the water, and he literally went down like a foot, and then like half a foot, and you're just sitting there. How long before the game did you stop smoking, and like how good of a swimmer were you up to this point?
Fantastic swimmer my whole life. Learned swimming when I was 3 years old. Public pool time, 90s and 2000s. So I'm always in the pool like most of my life. It'd been like a few years that I had like got into the water and swam like like you should. But I was always a skier. I went to the lakes, I can ski and all that good stuff. But the swimming wasn't bad, but this was bad. And I had quit the day before I flew out for my finals in February. And it was like 3 months. I quit the day of that I flew out. So I quit cold turkey. And then I stayed, away from them until I found out, if I made a show or not. And then when I made it, it was just like, I'm done.
You took the Shane Powers approach.
Yeah.
I did. Like day one. I'm more like 3 months ahead of time. But pretty much.
Yeah, that's crazy. So did that have like an effect on you towards the end? And we'll talk about your end game later on, but I know that people started saying that like every time we come to tribal council, Donathan just wants to blow something up. Were you like just hungry and like going crazy, or was this like a little bit of like a nicotine withdrawal still going on?
Oh no, I had already got the nicotine out of me. That was more or less half strategy, half pissed off.
Gotcha.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's funny because I met you the night before the finale, and I said to you, Donathan, I patted you on the back. I said, it's a shame we all know you're going to end up losing this fire making challenge. Then when you went out at 5, I was like, damn, I thought I had predicted that. But
I know a lot of people thought that, like online, like I am a big fan, so I'm on the web too. So yeah, a lot of people thought I was going at it 4, but I reversed the curse for 5th place edits.
There you go. Exactly. I mean, Angela had 5th place written all over her, so it was pretty shocking when it was actually you who went out. So Jacob goes home, and I guess you weren't at that tribal council. What was it like going to Ghost Island? When you went to Ghost Island, was there anything for you to do, or was it you got the no game for you today?
Well, I made the whole thing of rice.
That's right.
We saw it. It looked delicious.
For me was just boring, kind of. I didn't get to play the game, so I had to, just attend to my fire that I made and made my rice and just kind of, sat and collected my thoughts about what had happened the first 5 days, and just it was a breather, really, but also wondering what's going on at the camp and like who's going to be leaving that night.
So we had been screaming about this all season, and I'm not sure what you're allowed to say or what but we had just been saying, okay, they're going to, they cook rice, and then they have this whole like existential moment. Why aren't they looking for idols? Is there just not the opportunity to look there, or is there not much room to explore?
There's no opportunity to look for an idol on Ghost Island. From what we had read on the parchment when we went up on the island, it's like, you're here to play a game and there's nothing else. So that's pretty much the nutshell.
So go eat your rice.
There was no need to look. There wasn't nothing there.
That solves it.
And as like a huge fan, were you just like frustrated? You get to Ghost Island, it's going to be this great, huge thing, and you get there and it's just like, all right, now go sit and eat your rice. Like, was that like frustrating to you? Were you wondering why? Because Sunday Berquist had come on here and said, why don't they give them little things that they could win? Maybe they get extra food or they get, like a love the one letter or something. Were you like frustrated that it was just like, I literally came here for almost nothing?
Pretty much. You get out there and you're wondering what Ghost Island is. We kind of had our thing with Jacob where we were trying to figure it out and to get out there. And, it's a nice setup. Everything looks really good. But when you get there, you're just like, well, this is it. Chris, none of us knew about Chris going. And Chris had the best visit of anybody just because it was at nighttime. It was spooky. The fire was flaming and like it gave the more aesthetic of like Ghost Island, I thought. Then when we went during the day and it was just like, it felt like nothing when somebody didn't get to play. So, yeah, Chris had the best Ghost Island visit out of all of us.
And it's crazy that he kept that a secret from all of you the entire time until, and none of you noticed. So that night happens. You don't hear a boat. You don't hear Chris get up. Nothing. You guys were just out cold.
Yeah. And what's so weird is I wasn't really out cold. I can kind of remember Chris walking away that night because I slept on the end. And, I had the view of like the walkway. I remember Chris there, but I just never thought that he would be one to Ghost Island. So I must have just dozed off, didn't even think twice about it. But he really floored us all over that.
What was it like watching that live?
Oh, it was insane. Like, I watched that episode at home. It was just me and my mom. And I was just like, oh my God, like, Chris, what is this? What is this madness? Like, I was freaking out because if I had known that he had an idol, hell yes, I would have did that night.
That's so. Wait, hey, I lost you for a second there at the end. You said if you would have known he had an idol, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah, if I knew he had an idol, I would have told his ass to play that.
Oh, yeah. So
my God. Yeah.
That's crazy. So you were on like...
Sorry, guys. I don't know if it's...
No, it's all right. I think there's just like a little either delay or like the internet just... We're known for our cutting in and out, so we have
sorry.
It's totally fine.
Not the first time.
If you cut off for a second there, I just wanted you to repeat that because I forget. I mean, I honestly now we're almost a month removed, and that episode had to be 2 months ago now. When Chris is going home there, who was it that you wanted? Who would you have rather seen go home? Would you have wanted to see Libby go home, or had you known Chris had the idol, you would have said, "Let's put a plan into motion and let's make something happen"?
I would have put a plan into motion and tried to make something happen. It's my motto throughout this whole game.
It sounds like what you were going for.
Yeah. And, Chris and Dominic had this big feud out here, so you want that in the game. You want to keep, heads butting at each other. So if I had known that he had that idol, it would have been a whole different story, but I didn't know. And I also had a thing with Wendell, Dominic, and Laurel, so I had to kind of stay on that side. But if I knew he had that, it would have been a whole different ballgame because it would have been a new day the next day with Chris there. We would have known for sure he'd be in there. So we could have strategized on what we needed to do after that night. But the poor guy didn't tell nobody but Angela, and he got sent home.
So what was your relationship like with Chris? Because we saw you guys had an episode where you two, you had this really good moment together. But past that, we didn't see you two interacting that much, even though you spent a lot of time together on the island. What was it like? Were you aligned with Chris? Was it just, a personal friendship? What was it like?
I think it was half personal and like kind of half strategy and like having him try to get him on my side. Me and Chris met like after the second swap in Naviti 2.0, and we connected instantly. He had a great story about his mom, and I had my story about my grandmother, and he caught my emotions that day with Laurel, so we kind of had an emotional conversation after that as well. And he's a great guy. I really like Chris. He had one of my most heartfelt messages when I had to write his name down, and and they didn't show anything like that, but he really had my heart there for a little bit. But he was also very arrogant. A lot of people read Chris, like he is. and you know, it hurt his game in the end. But if I could have just had him there for 3 more days, it would have been a whole different game, I think.
And who do you think you would have gone for? Who do you think you would have tried to target had you known about Chris's idol?
Well, one thing I did have information was that Dominic told me that he had the legacy advantage when it was me and Chelsea and him and Bradley and Libby. So I had that piece of information. I knew not to go for Dominic. If I had a chance to, if I knew Wendell would have been the bigger threat, you know, like I probably would have went for Wendell. But at that moment, it would have probably just been somebody like Libby or Dez or Angela, one of the weaker girls, just so that I would know I could get somebody out at that moment. It's not so much a big threat. And I also didn't have like a lot of the connections that I did with some of the other ones than from the Naviti girls.
Yeah. So now if we back all the way up, because the 3 people we've had on, we've had Bradley, we've had Kellen, we've had Brendan. So they were after the first swap, they were on the other side from you. And you definitely lucked out on this swap where you got in with the group that was willing to work against each other. Now, that first boot to get rid of Morgan, instead of, I guess it was Angela, was this like the way it was edited? It looked like it was James's idea, and then Libby kind of went along with it. Where was like everybody's head at? How close like were you aligned with everybody? And like, why did you guys end up just deciding on Morgan over anybody else?
Well, for me, I'll never forget today as long as I live. We had just been swapped, and then we had like a day or two, and like I guess how Wendell puts it, 4 of them was in the kitchen, and 4 of them was in the bedroom. We were the 4 in the kitchen, and I'll never forget Dominic, and he kind of presented this thing, you know, that Angela had, or not Angela, but he was going for Angela, but you know, he just didn't know us, and he was trying to work our ears and stuff. Oh my God, he is somebody that is going to be absolutely dangerous in this game. But we had also heard about the idol from Chris. Is, you know, kind of, you know, he knew it. He just, you know, we didn't know at the time, and we were scared of that. So when he said that, we kind of regrouped and was like, well, who would they go, or who would they not play anything for? If Dom has the idol, he would probably play for Wendell, and then the next one would be Morgan that was closest to him. So I kind of brought the Morgan thing up actually in the circle. I was like, well, if we go for Morgan, then we would have a better chance of making it, all 4 of us making it, because they would probably never play their idol on Morgan, even though they're close with Morgan. And I kind of got gypped from the edit because I didn't have very many conversations with Morgan. I kind of let, you know, Libby says she could take care of it, and James is also very social, and he talked to her a lot more. So I see why that they got the edit that they did, that they were kind of the motion part of it. They were getting things in line, but I didn't have to do anything because, you know, they were all for it, and I just kind of went back and laid back into the, you know, the back hairs of everything. And I think that was a great strategy for me because it kept, you know, me kind of safe in front of or behind Libby and James because they were out kind of making everything happen.
And coming back after that vote, how did Angela, Wendell, and Dominic just like immediately getting back to camp? What was their reaction like? Because we only saw, you know, 10 seconds of it.
Oh my goodness. We were all scared to go back to camp. Me and Laurel, James and Libby were petrified. We got up to camp, and Angela, you could just tell that girl, she was blindsided herself that night. She did not see that coming. They had her like into, you know, this thing about Libby going, and she believed everything, hook, line, and sinker. And, you know, when we got back to camp, she had that. And then we and Dominic were just like, you know, hey guys, well, you know how they are, they're smooth, but they're also pissed. You know, hey guys, what happened tonight? What happened tonight? And I was the only one that spoke up against them. And I was like, you know, we all stick together. You know, it's just all it is to it. You guys made us nervous, and we forced it to stick together. We knew that Angela was being left out, so it was the perfect time, and we were already 2 down Malolo at this point too. So it was already trying to get the Naviti out for us 4 that was there that day anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you do that, was there ever a time then when like Angela was gonna like work with you? Because I feel like even though we watched Angela get 4th place, I have no idea.
We know nothing about her.
Was like, I don't know anything about Angela. So were you guys ever gonna work with Angela, or was it just kind of like, keep her in the dark? She's never gonna work with Dom and Wendell, so we don't ever really have to worry about it.
Well, with Angela, it was hard to kind of see where her head was that. She was somebody that never really talked a lot of strategy, I guess, to us really for Malolo at that point. But we had our hand extended to her after that happened. Hey, Angela, your people went against you, and if anything happens, you're more than welcome to kind of hop along us forward, and we can kind of get the other 2 or 3 out. So Angela, I hate to say it, she was just never in the thick of it all, and that was the way up until day 38. And I hate that for her, but she was somebody that everybody just viewed as the GOAT so early into the game, and it's unfortunate for her.
Yeah, I saw that with her. Like, it seemed like she could just never find her footing, and everybody was willing
to make sure we're here.
Oh wait, I think we're just like on a little delay here.
Yeah. But we heard everything perfectly.
I heard everything perfectly, but then you stopped moving. So I don't know.
You're fine. You're fine.
There might just be a little bit of a delay. This happens. It's Google Hangouts. It's a good time. But what I was going to ask here is, wait, what was I going to ask? It was something to do.
God. Something about Angela.
It was with Angela. Oh, so then, like, when you guys, I can't remember, when you guys are playing with Angela, though, and you said until like day 38, she kind of just never had her footing. Were her and Chris as tight as the edit made it believe? Like,
this is thing. I don't know if it's my internet. It makes me feel bad.
Oh no, it's totally fine. Alexa, was it me or was it Donathan?
I lost it in the middle of Phil. But
okay, so maybe it was me.
I have a question. I don't know if the question was answered or not, but
I heard that you said something about Chris and Angela. Was that the question?
That was pretty much the question. Yeah. Now I feel like we're caught up. I feel like somehow I was on.
Yeah, they were close the whole time that I knew of. They were like, like this. They were very close from what I know of.
So for the second half of Angela's game, she obviously didn't have Chris around. Was she reaching out to try to make new alliances, or was she just kind of waiting for someone to say, "Hey, Angela, we're gonna vote for Libby," and then she would go and vote for Libby? Like, we're gonna go vote for Des, and she would go vote for Des. I'm just trying to figure out what her thought process was, because she was one of the few people who we just heard nothing from.
Yeah, she was somebody that had conversations with a lot of people, and she tried to stay in the middle of the game. She just never had a chance to really make a movement for her own. I think a lot of people, like you seen at the last episode, she kind of, blurted out the plan. So she kind of was even looked as a kind of a rat earlier in the game as well. And I think it's why a lot of people were kind of scared of her, but she also didn't try to do expand her horizons. I guess she kind of stuck with the Naviti girls from what I understand. And then later in the game, she kind of tried to work with Dominic and Wendell, but there for a long time, she stuck with the Naviti girls. And, they tried to woo me in, but, things were happening that I knew about and she didn't. So it was I had a different plan than she did.
Yeah, and we can definitely talk about that final 6 situation a little bit later.
When we get there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you first while we're still on this subject, because we were talking to Brendan. It was pretty clear that that Naviti versus that Malolo was Naviti versus Malolo on the I guess it was Malolo 2.0. On your side, you guys had the numbers after the first boot. You got rid of Morgan. You knew Chris was never going to work with Dominic. Was there any consideration in just starting to throw challenges and even these numbers up, or were you worried that the other side might be getting together?
I didn't really enforce or try to promote throwing a challenge. When you go on Survivor, as far as I know of, you go out there and you try to win each one you can. So I think looking back, if I could have thrown one or we could have, it probably would have been in our advantage. But knowing our luck too, Dominic did have that idol. He would have ended up playing it on the person we voted for, and then one of us would still be gone anyway. So, I always try to win in Survivor. That's that's the way I look at it. So
play to win.
They try to throw it at I think the Bradley boot. They were talking about throwing, and I didn't know nothing about it. You see me, I was trying to win.
Yeah, and that's what I think is funny is Chelsea was so under edited on this season, but then that happens and it's her and Dom just planned let's throw this challenge so we can get rid of Bradley. Were you you didn't even though Bradley seemed like he was being the worst to you weren't even on board to do that because you were just you'd rather just go out there and actually win the challenge.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Did you even know of a plan to throw the challenge?
Yeah, I mean that is one thing I do say. Dominic had mentioned it maybe to me, but it was never something that I thought that they were taking very seriously. Like I had to always make sure that like in that little days that we had with Bradley, that Bradley was leaving. I mentioned on the show I was letting him dig his grave, and he ended up doing that. So yeah, those days were something that I was taking a little. I knew that he was digging the grave for everybody else, and it was going to be an easy vote either way. Win or lose, I knew I was going to be safe, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, for you you were good with it. What so with Bradley then we saw him like be clapping and all of that at you and everything like that. What was it like living with Bradley? Because you didn't have to live with him actually for that long, but what was that like?
It was miserable. Actually, me and him just. The sad thing is about Bradley, I knew Bradley could have been a good Survivor player if he'd made it further. When I seen Bradley the first, when we were doing our pre-cast assessments or whatever for, before the game started, I always labeled Bradley as probably my biggest threat in the game. He just was somebody that I could tell was an observer, and there was just something about the guy. But then getting to meet him like that first 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm good with you, man. Like, if you just, if you're good, then I'm good. But then just like all of a sudden, it's just, I don't know if it was the elements or if it was just like something that went on his way or whatever it was, but he was just miserable. We could not even be around him without a complaint or things has to be done his way. And like he's clapping his hands at me after I had a big part in winning the challenge for them. And I was trying to soak that up because I'm not the biggest, social or not the biggest like competitor, physical wise. And, I was trying to enjoy the moment, and he just always was somebody that was a Debbie Downer that never really let us breathe or like enjoy the moments, or he was just somebody that's just aggravating.
There you go. And it's funny because like Dom, I mean, we'd love to actually talk to Dom because I would love to hear why he decided to throw that challenge to get rid of Bradley when the whole time he's talking about Libby as this huge threat. I mean,
yeah, let's talk about Libby.
Yeah, what do you got?
We've heard so many times of how much like she was this big threat. Like her name came up pretty much every tribal council she was at, and I'm sure she was a fantastic player. But she was another one where we were like, I'm sure she's a threat, but we don't know how she's a threat because we haven't seen it.
I don't know if people like me and Libby played all of her days together, so we had a really tight bond that the show didn't show before or during her or anything. So me and Libby had that bond, but like I don't know, she just had an aura about her that I guess a lot of people just run a threat. I know a lot of people gave her talked about Libby and stuff, but I never really thought of Libby in that sense. But a lot of people did. I guess I don't know if it's just where she's like the cute blonde, like Southern. Like I don't know if the people were just intimidated by that, but I never was. But I always noted that Libby was always in the crosshair. She was, even got idled out by a man like her dude Michael. Like I try to warn her, he's going to end up being the reason why you're out of the game, and ended up being that it was.
And do you think it had to do with Morgan? Because at the Morgan boot, Morgan sits there and says, "Don't trust her," pretty much. Because it seemed like Libby and Morgan had bonded.
I don't know if it's my internet or
Alexa, what are you hearing? Is it me?
I'm not here. I know Donathan just tried to talk. I wasn't hearing him.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been. I didn't really think about that until now. But yeah, that really is Libby. Okay.
Oh, we're on the move now.
No, okay. Are we?
I'm trying to move it around. I got fast internet. I don't know what's up with it.
This is going well.
Okay. I try to Can you
hear
me now?
I hope you're not standing up.
Oh no, I'm not.
It's funny.
it's a rainy day here. The internet kind of messes up. Sorry.
No, it's totally fun. It's funny because like I used to blame Will all the time for bad internet, and it was always mine because I was in a basement doing that for the podcasts. And then when we both moved to California, his apartment was terrible. So we just, but it's sometimes like, and then you're like, well, I have the highest speed, so what's going on? But we just want to make sure we get the whole story here. You know, that's what we're. That's
yeah,
what
sorry. Anytime it happens, just say like stop or something, and I'll try to start over.
Well, I don't want to do that because I don't know if it's me. Alexa, you have to be like the moderator on this.
I will be the moderator because I if there's one thing that is good about living in New York, it's that I have really good internet.
It's crazy.
Oh. but anyways, yes.
The bad thing about Eastern Kentucky, you know.
So I think what Phil had been asking, and I saw this in the live chat too, that maybe this came from when Morgan left. Morgan was like, hey, don't trust this chick. And then all of a sudden, poor Libby is like, wait a minute, I didn't orchestrate this, but now all the spotlight's on me.
That's a good thing. That's what I was hoping for. But no, in all honesty, it probably did kind of put a target on Libby because, you know, Dominic and Wendell was there listening to what Morgan had to say, and they probably felt like Libby probably really had a bigger part in that than what she probably did. That she had that thing with Morgan where they connected with like their religion and like, you know, different things like that. So they had a tight bond. So Morgan probably felt like she did get scorned more like by Libby than any of the rest of us anyway. But that's true. It probably did target on Libby because everybody remembers Morgan's remark. You know, don't trust to keep bond. So it probably did bite her in the butt. It did.
Yeah, and I feel like that like probably put it in Dom's head right away where it's like, oh God, if that's the reason, well then now she's going to be threatening. Because it's funny, like to me, once a merge hits, Dom and Wendell are huge threats. I felt like Kellen was a threat, maybe not from the edit, but on the show.
She was.
You know, I feel like you and Laurel could have been threats. I feel like I'm trying to think who else. That's a Seabass we've heard has been a threat. And it's funny that like Libby's the one that everybody's like, we got to get rid of Libby. Like Michael obviously is a huge threat. And it's like, oh, but let's get rid of Libby. Let's get her out. And it was like, what was the rush? Like to me, it was kind of crazy how that whole post merge went down.
And the sad thing is she done well. She was doing well until that idol was played. I tried to tell everybody that my idol. Everybody let him run off and do whatever he wanted to do. He found it at Malolo, but everybody was still letting him run around when we were at Levita. So try to tell them, but they just, you know, they just let it skate by, and everybody had the shock of their life that night.
Well, that's pretty funny because I feel like on the season we had a couple instances where someone said, I have an idol, and everyone was like, okay, and didn't even question it. And it sounds like on the flip side, there was this where someone actually had an idol and no one really dug deeper into it.
Nobody really was really trying, I guess, to kind of. I know that like me and Laurel was in a good position because we were working with. Oh, sorry.
Nope, you're good.
I totally lost you there after Alexis.
Hear me now?
I can hear you now. I just put my
hands
up. Let me talk.
Okay.
We're doing it live.
Okay. You might have to ask your question again. This is my.
So I guess did no one really believe that Michael had an idol?
No, a lot of people just thought that, you know, the guy had played the one they found, and like I guess they just didn't really give it the thought that he did. But that night we all had Michael's name down, and I just knew in that moment there was something not right because he was acting too scared. He was acting too sad, and like he was being kind of more dramatic than what, you know, Michael was being out there, because Michael can be kind of dry, if that makes sense. Like he don't have like very big emotion. And when he was acting like that, I knew something was up his sleeve. I just felt it in my heart. And then he ended up pulling it out, and we was all scared. We didn't know where the votes were really going to go. And then, you know, ended up being Libby.
Was there any chance that like any Naviti could have gone at that point, or there was just no way?
I don't think so. I mean, at that point, I think a lot of people had a thing about Libby and Michael and Jenna, kind of like the popular, pretty kind of people thing that was going out there. And a lot of us were intimidated by it. So, you know, they kind of had a target on them because of that. But, you know, it's just a matter of whoever wrote down the other name. A lot of us wrote down Michael, and I even told Libby and Jenna that night. They were looking at me like, "Who do we vote for? Who do we vote for?" And I'm saying, "You gotta vote Michael. You gotta vote Michael," but not knowing that, until I felt something wasn't right. But all you could do was just keep the target off yourself, and that's what I was trying to do at that point.
Yeah, and so Michael, I felt like from all of the Malolos, it felt like Michael had the best chance to win as the game kept going. And maybe that's edit, or maybe that's how it really was, but it felt like Michael could really have pulled that out. Like, was there any chance that you were willing to work with Michael further into the game? Because I know that there came a point where pretty much nobody wanted to work with him because they just knew he was going to win if he got there.
Right. Well, I know when I had made it to merge that, we're all 13 there, and it took Michael maybe 2 days or 3 to even talk to me. So I didn't feel like I had a really close bond with Michael. And, he had his clique and I had mine too. So I can't really say one thing because I had my people as well. But it was just something that I don't really know how to explain it, if it makes sense. It's just something that you have to realize when you're out there. But what was your question again? Sorry,
No,
I got off track.
No, that's totally fine. I mean, I just wanted to know if you would have worked with him, but that makes sense. If he wasn't willing to work, if he wasn't talking to you or anything.
And also, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I was getting to. Sorry, I got sidetracked. There was a moment there where oh, sorry.
Oh man, so you're hearing me super delayed here.
I was just going to say there was a moment there where I wasn't going to play with him, but until I really realized that I needed him because there were only 4 Malolo left. Oh, sorry. I don't know what it is. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, good now.
It's what's happening is somehow it's getting delayed to the point where you're hearing us super late.
Okay.
Let me see.
I don't know what it is.
What are you thinking, Phil?
Do you have anything else open, Donathan? Maybe close out anything else you have open on there?
Nope, this is the only thing that's open.
Or, I mean, I'm assuming you're outside. Maybe, I don't even know if it's possible. I don't know what your yard looks like, but maybe if you moved a little closer to the house, but I also don't want you to wake anyone up. So you tell us.
No, I'm inside. I'm in my room. I should have great service.
Oh.
I just have this in the background.
Oh, I thought you were in your backyard.
It's funny. I thought you were in a backyard too. I thought we were looking at the sky behind you and you were on the deck.
Oh, you're good. You're good. This is actually got this from Fiji. It's in the background.
Oh, that's really funny. Well, there you go. Yeah, I
think I hear you guys good now.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
It rolls and then all of a sudden it just cuts and you're apologizing and I hadn't talked for a minute. So it's funny because it just it'll randomly pause, I feel like on you.
I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's while we're talking about this the Malolo group, the original Malolo group. So you started to bond with Laurel, who else really started to bond there, and what was the dynamic there, because we didn't really get to see a lot of it play out, considering 5 or 6 of them were gone before the merge even hit.
Yes.
So what was the dynamic like there?
Definitely me and Laurel were kind of on the bottom in a sense. Michael and Brendan kind of got the shelter going. Jenna, Libby, and Stephanie Johnson were really, I thought, close there at the beginning. They kind of went off and done their thing a lot. I guess it's girl thing. They always done yoga on the beach and stuff. Jacob was kind of the loner. I hate to say that, but he kind of tried to play too hard, too fast. Caught him up in, he got caught up in it all. So he's kind of the outcast in a way. Gonzalez was awesome. I really like Gonzalez. She knew what she was talking about. She had lived an island life, and she was, I thought of her as a big threat at the beginning anyway. It's another reason why we needed her to go. She was just somebody that just knew everything so well. And who else am I forgetting about? Did I get everybody?
James?
Yeah, and James. Yeah, it's definitely me, Laurel, and James were like those two were my people. Those were the ones that I connected to instantly. I really got a good vibe from them, and I hated to see James go. It really was hard seeing a lot of those go. Stephanie Johnson included. I really liked her too. Malolo was like I said, we were around like chickens with our head cut off, but we had a really flowing, if it makes sense too, like with our personalities and stuff. Like we all got along well, but we also knew we was playing a game. But also though, we had some good times at Malolo those first 6 days, and those were some of the funnest days I had out there.
And what was there a vomit pile?
I was about to
pee
say, let's
pile
answer
at
some
Malolo, because
let's get to the
Bradley and
bottom.
Kellen claim there was.
there was. I only got there, was there for 6 days, but like since day one, we had our little area that we had peed and stuff at, but it's like right beside a place where everybody had to go to for things, and it was not good.
Ooh,
it was right
Brendan's got
beside
some
the
egg on his
shelter,
face.
pretty much. And I'm sure those winds blew that snail right in.
Oh my God! See, Brendan said that you guys didn't have.
It was
Yeah,
bad.
Brendan's
But
Brendan's got some egg on his face.
Fortunately, I never had to go back, so
Yeah.
So how
I didn't get to see how bad it was.
How often were people vomiting?
I mean, from what I know, it was starting when I was there.
The more you know.
This is interesting. So Brendan.
I remember I don't vomit. I don't know. It must have been after.
So what about, because we had also heard that people would just pee off the side of the shelter, like you would just roll over and pee. Was that a thing?
Not while I was there.
All right. So what now? One thing is still up in the air.
So we're like at like half and half here. We're like Bradley and Kellen are telling a half, and then
I need a tally sheet.
When I wasn't, like, we had our designated area and we had the ocean for when we had to do something else. But yeah, I never heard of the peeing off the side of the shelter. That's a little extreme.
All right, I can't believe the vomit pile exists.
Yeah, that's.
I never heard of that. I'm gonna have to ask about this. who threw up?
I don't know. That's what we're being told.
We don't know. Came from those three. They're the ones who were talking about
it. That's it.
I found out.
There, we need to hear this.
No, I want a producer. I want some footage.
Yeah, I want. Well, here's what I want to know now. How much better was the Naviti camp than Malolo? Like, how happy are you?
Oh, so much better.
Yeah,
so much better. You see my reaction when we got there from the show? Like, my mouth was on the floor, my eyes were lit up really big. Like, this place was like sweet compared to where Malolo is. And I see why Bradley kind of got pissed off, but Bradley has to realize too, it's Survivor. You know, you're going to live in extreme conditions or whatever. But definitely, the Naviti camp is like so much better. I see why he was kind of aggravated by it.
yeah, because and then where was the third tribe? I know you probably, I don't know if you actually went over there. Did you actually go over to Yanuya or no?
No. But I hear it's a nice camp.
So Malolo was definitely the worst one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh my God!
But we thought we had it made like the first 3 or 6 days.
Yeah, because you had someplace to sleep, so you're probably thinking like, "Wow, we're killing it. This is great."
Yeah, like that's all we know of at that point. We didn't know this big resort was waiting on us if we made it over there.
Wow, so different. That's crazy how different they were.
Yeah, but I appreciated Malolo camp. I appreciated that it was a little bit more tougher and like more rugged with dirt and stuff because that's Survivor. You go out there and you're supposed to expect that. So I appreciated Malolo camp. I did.
It's very nice of you to say that.
Yeah, exactly. Who paid you right now?
Yeah.
So you get away from Malolo. You do Naviti the first time. You guys lose the first challenge and then win. And you're watching. You watch Brendan go home. You watch Stephanie Johnson go home, and then the next thing you do is you swap up again. And like, what was it like? Like, I know you talked about Bradley, but is this really where like you and Dom started to become really close?
Yeah, I knew that I had to keep Dom in my pocket because I knew that the merge was coming, and he's more likely going to make it. So I knew to keep him close to me, but also doing work and making sure that I'm kind of lying to Dominic when I can to kind of make sure that Bradley is, going to be leaving the game for sure, because him and Chelsea and Bradley or Dominic, whichever one, has, the majority, and it's me and Libby also, we're on the bottom again. We're Malolo's, of course we're on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But it was tough, but also just knowing that Bradley was digging the grave at that time, so that helped us. Because Dominic did not like Bradley either.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. So you and Libby were able to pull this off, and Chelsea and Dominic seemed like they wanted to make it happen.
Hello?
We're back.
Are we? I heard. Yeah. It's funny because when I hear him, that's when he goes, "Hello." It's so funny.
I can hear you good.
All right. Well, what was it like with Chelsea? So Chelsea is there, and was she pushing? Was she talking to you guys all the time? Hey, we are ready to get rid of Bradley or anything like that? Or was she kind of laying low and keeping to herself? Because I know nothing about her.
Well, first of all, Chelsea really deserved, I'll say this, more than what she was shown, shown ever. I thought that, everybody talked about, kind of a new poverty was coming. I really thought it was Chelsea. That's the impression that she made on me out there. She was somebody that was also kind of playing the radar when we had first made it, to the VD 3.0. And she was somebody that I connected with instantly. She was crying over coffee. So I had to, go and tell her, hey, girl, this was me too. Don't feel bad.
Something in the coffee.
I know. And I didn't even drink the coffee. I drank the tea. It was just the sight of it, the smell that got me going. But it made her emotional. I took that and got a relationship started with her. But she started realizing, as we did along the way, that Bradley was just this big, arrogant guy. And it kind of brought us closer, and it ended up being, before we went travel, me and Chelsea and Libby was actually probably the closest little bond compared to what Bradley and Dominic was. So we all stuck together and got Bradley out. That was the game plan, and it ended up working out.
I mean, because you guys take a chance there by if Chelsea and Dominic want to throw that challenge, there's a chance there that maybe you guys don't merge till 12.
And that was his concern.
And what do you think would have happened had your tribe gone to tribal again? Because you have to be scared that Dom has an idol. And then it's just you and Libby, and it doesn't seem like was he willing to vote out Chelsea, or what would have happened then?
I never heard anybody mention Chelsea's name. That's how I think it's how great that Chelsea was. She was kind of like I was. She playing under the radar. Nobody really mentioned that Chelsea should be leaving. I think more or less it was between Bradley and Libby. And after or maybe the first day or two, Dominic was going back and forth with should he go with Bradley or Libby. So I had to keep telling Dominic things like Bradley is getting these parents out. He's told me himself that he's going for all these parents, because that's another thing that made Dominic paranoid. So I made sure to play on that as well, because he was also going back and forth. Should I go with Libby or should I go with Bradley? So we had to keep convincing and keep convincing and putting these earworms in his head, and it ended up, working out for us. Me and Libby knew where we were at. We were on the bottom, so we had to also put in some work while watching the on the side.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. So you hit this merge, and you know that Dominic and Chris are going to be going at each other. And we talked about Chris going. We talked about Libby going. What was it like at that tribal council where they actually split things up to make it 5-5? What was that one like?
This is one where I'm not hearing you, Donathan.
I didn't hear Donathan there.
All right. Sorry. Do you mind?
That was the turning point pretty much in my game. Like I had played it until that. Okay, hear me now?
Now we do.
There we go.
Okay. So ask the question one more time so I'll get it right.
No,
I get distracted by this.
I was just wondering with this, so when they split you guys up and it's 5-5 and you were at the tribal council where Jenna went home, what was this tribal like? Like what was going through your head at this moment? Because I mean, we lose Jenna and Michael, 2 original Malolos. You know, what was going on here?
Well, that was probably the most. Well, that's when the frustration kind of started. I had just found that idol, and it was an effort with me and Michael and Libby, or not Libby, Jenna and Laurel. So we're optimistic that maybe if we go to 10 or 9 or whatever, that we could maybe pull something off with it. And then we get blindsided by this split of 5-5, and that's kind of where my game turned upside down. You know, it took me away from my core alliance of Laurel, Dominic, and Wendell, and then I got stuck with Sebastian and Angela and Jenna and Chelsea. And I had a thing with Chelsea, and I had worked kind of with Angela a little bit, trying to work with her, but never could get anywhere with her. So I was in a corner over on that side. I didn't really know which way to turn. I didn't know if I needed to play it for myself, if I could get Jenna to work with me to get Sebastian out. Like, I really tried to work things up before I went out there. Before tribal, though, I really was considering playing it for Jenna up until I went to tribal. And then when I got to tribal, like you asked of, it was very cryptic. It was Jenna pretty much sat down and said, "Okay, Jeff, we just need to read the votes. It's time to just kind of get it over with. I know I'm going home." And I thought, well, we have planned all this, so why do you have to feel like you need to go ahead and give up so easily? Why are you not giving it like tribal chance to kind of flourish and see what people's thoughts are? And it just got to the point where I had to read tribal, and a lot of people weren't looking at me in the eyes or anything. So I wrote down Sebastian's name just to show Jenna that I was sticking to my word. And Sebastian was also a bigger threat at that point in time because he was with Wendell. Like, they were really close, I thought. So it was good to kind of get rid of Sebastian at that point so that I could kind of have a freer way that he could be in a roadblock for me. But I didn't know that Jenna and Sebastian were as close as they was, and she ended up, not sticking to her word. So I just ended up playing it for myself, which I'm glad I did, or it could have been a revote, and I could have went home. So I thought I made the right decision in that point of time.
And what's terrible for you in that moment is that you're only playing that idol in front of half the people, because the other 5 who aren't at that tribal, they don't see that you're actually making this game move.
I think I lost you there.
Right. And see, and a lot of people probably thought that about my idol, which I'm sure did. Oh, did it?
Okay, yeah.
Did you get me back?
I think I'm figuring out how this is working.
I'm trying to move it around here.
Yeah. So now we're now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
I think he vanished.
There you are.
Okay. Back to, just to kind of reset everything, It was just a horrible part of my game. I hated that we split 5-5. When I said that Survivor bitch slapped us, I really meant that it bitch slapped me. Because I had this idol, and I was going to tell you guys that Dominic or Wendell never knew about the idol until I got it back at night. And I'm surprised they didn't show that in the show, because that's kind of where I had to change up my strategy a lot, because I had held something against them that they didn't know about. And they had, like Dominic said, I want to know everything in the game, but I'm also trying to do things on my own and try to do things that I just want to make my game better. And just didn't work out.
So at what point in the game were you, I don't know if there's an exact point, at what point did you say, okay, I need to get rid of Dom and Wendell? Because it seems like you were the first, if not the only person to really be thinking that.
Yeah, it got to where that happened with the split 5-5, and then I knew that was my opportunity to do something against those guys. So maybe around the time of Dez's vote, kind of like I wanted to do something with Dez, y'all. And then Laurel goes and blows it up on me. So that's kind of where like my bubbles start to boil. Is just knowing that this happened and it blew up. I'm like, well, okay, let me reassess. Let me see what I can do next week. Oh, the next week we're splitting up 5 and 5. And it's just like, oh my God, when am I going to catch a break here? But yeah, definitely around Dez.
Yeah, so with the Dez with that Dez boot then, and then you're coming into it, you have this idol. I know that right after that, Michael had come up to you and said, "Can I have the idol for the day?" And you just said no straight up, and I mean that made sense. But now, after you actually see it play out, does a part of you wish you would have actually given that to Michael, or even if Michael survives that vote and one of the big guns goes home at the other tribal council, are you still putting yourself in a position to fail?
Well, I mean, should have, could have, would have, if I knowed what I did now, I would have definitely probably let Michael use it. But just knowing that he was on the other side of the 5, he was on another clan and I wasn't. And I didn't need my name mixed up into the day anyway. So I didn't want him saying, Donovan's going to let me do this and then run off and do it and then kind of take advantage of me. Because I didn't want to be taken advantage of out there either by somebody, kind of like Michael, because I do have that history, of people trying to, do that. So I didn't want that to happen. I told him no, plain out, and it just happened that way because we were not on the same side of the aisle. If we was on like 10 and 9, I would have done anything I could to save the guy. But it just happened that happened. We split, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, and so Survivor ends up sitting there, and in this big twist, actually ends up biting them because you lose one of the biggest characters on the season in Michael. He ends up going home because of this twist, when really this was the prime opportunity for Malolo to finally get a little footing here.
It was. I mean, as far as I know, we kept the idol under wrap until I think we split, and then I think Jenna might have told a few people. But before that split, I really think that we had a chance to surprise a few people, and like I just said.
Was anybody expecting you to have an idol? I know everybody was with you when you found it, and I know that had to be crazy for you, but were people looking at you as like a David Wright type of fan, or were they kind of just like blowing you off like, oh yeah, no, there's no way he found one, like whatever? Like, what do you think like the perception from everybody else was?
Well, I think a lot of people probably underestimated me, maybe from my accent, maybe from just when they look at me, they see me as a smaller guy, maybe that hasn't done a lot in the world. So, I mean, I played it up to my advantage as much as I could, but I'm sure that a lot of people probably didn't cross their minds that I had. I mean, a lot of them knew about it after, I'm sure, but like when I seen Dominic and Wendell's reaction for when they found out that I had played an idol that night, that pretty much told me then that a lot of people probably wasn't thinking that I was capable or something like that, and I proved them wrong at least. It gave them a good surprise.
What was it like finding that idol, like where it was?
Oh my goodness, like that was the most like adrenaline that I think that I felt out there was with that idol. I had found one piece and thinking I had it made, yes, I can kind of keep this to myself. I found an idol and maybe let Laurel know about it. And then I ended up getting to know, because I didn't get to watch 35. I didn't know that Lauren had to find another idol, like that. So it was new to me. I was like, oh my God, I'm the first good person that's ever had to do this. But I definitely had a worse time than what Lauren did. Got out to camp, and it was Angela and Laurel sitting at the end, and the shelter was on the other end. And I, walked up to them because I didn't want to look suspicious. So I talked to them for a second, and then got back, and then I had to fill Laurel in, like, hey, there's an effing idol here. You want to help me find it? Like, then you got Angela, Dominic, and Kellen, like the whole company coming by, and like I'm having the cover over me, like trying to dig, and like it was just not happening there for a minute. And then like I call him the idol whisperer, Michael. Like all he had to do was just lay his pretty old hand there, and it just picked it right up. I'm like, are you serious? Like, is this really happening? But I'm glad that it kind of happened the way it did. We all kind of was wanting to make plans, and yeah, that was exhilarating though. Finding an idol when you're a big super fan of the show and it's connected to a season and go wrong, and it's, Ty's idol. I love that moment. So it was cool idol to find. It really was.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be one of the cooler ones. That and Eric Reichenbach or James's. Those are like, at least those three, like they were huge parts of the game. So you find it, you have to play it early, unfortunately. But then what ends up happening after that is you're down to 8 people, and you actually were in the majority at this point, sort of, because you had your relationship. That when were people starting to catch on that you and Laurel were really close with Wendell and Dom, or did they just never catch on to the fact that that 4-person alliance was real?
I don't think a lot of them. I hear a lot of comments after the show had aired that we have hold on that we have my mom. She's interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Sorry.
No,
that's Mom.
Hi, Mom.
I don't know. I told her I just got things going on here.
It's important stuff going on here.
Yeah, it's important stuff. But anyway, you have to ask me again. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. It's that's funny. No, it was just about, so you're actually kind of in this majority now after Michael does go home. Even though Michael and Jenna go, you lose 2 Malolos, but you're actually in a situation where you and Laurel were close. Did anybody know that was like a legitimate alliance or no?
No, I don't think so. A lot of the chatter that I heard, a lot of people were surprised to hear that S4 was working together, and I think a lot of people probably looked at me and Laurel as goats pretty much the whole game, which I think I was playing a better game of not being a goat. But yeah, I think it floored a lot of people. A lot of people didn't know about it, at least until we talked about it. Like, they didn't watch the show and say this for the first time. We obviously get to talk to each other afterwards, and a lot of people probably were like, "Oh my God!" when they sat back and thought about it. Those 4 was really a dangerous pair, or quadruple pair, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You could tell Dalton's here. But yeah, I think a lot of people were surprised for sure.
And so also just real quick, that was the episode also right after. That's the episode where you do get the loved one visit and Patty does come out. Now, So now you get picked by Sebastian. He picks Dominic, he picks you, and then he picks Wendell, and Wendell elects to go to Ghost Island. What were you thinking, or were you like blacked out because you were so excited that you were going to get to hang out with Aunt Patty? Or what were you thinking when Sebastian, first of all, even offered it to the people who were already standing there? And what did you think when Wendell jumped at the opportunity? Would you have ever jumped at the opportunity?
Well, one thing a lot of people don't know is when we were playing, I think Des was still there. So Final 11, I actually, what's the word? I had told them that I didn't want to pretty much be in it. I'll set out. Like, I pretty much challenged, and nobody, like, a lot of people felt bad for me. Like, oh my God, they didn't pick Dalton. Dalton set out that challenge. So when I seen Wendell do that, it was kind of honorable, I thought, that he would do that for us and our families, because family is family. You want to spend time with your family. So seeing him step up and be like, hey, I'll do this. Like, I had a lot of respect for that. And to see it, Sebastian picked all of us guys and then picking the girls, I thought that wasn't the best look, but that's what he chose. And I was actually surprised he picked me, really, but I was happy he did. I love the guy. I love Sebastian.
Yeah, because what I'm saying is, like, then Kellen was furious because she was like, and Wendell gets to go and do this. And that was like one of the big Kellen tantrums came because of this moment. Like, would you have done that? Or like, what was the vibe like when Wendell decided to come back and everybody knew he had some sort of advantage? Like, what was the vibe like around the camp and around him?
I think it got tense there for a minute because we know what Ghost Island was about. You had to go and, you have a chance to play the game. But then when you see somebody like Wendell that gets to go and they get something laid out on a silver platter for them when you get there. You're like, well, what could this be? Could it be like some kind of thing from past season, or like is it an advantage for the next challenge, which that's ended up what it was. But I don't think none of us connected that Malcolm's thing about his curse. So it made sense after we knew what was going on. But we were all nervous. We didn't know what was going on until we knew. So.
Yeah, that's one of those where it doesn't even really feel like that big of an advantage, because if you're not good at that type of challenge, I mean, we saw what happened with Malcolm, and then we saw what happened with Wendell too.
Yeah, never works out.
Never ends up working.
I was like, dang, I should have actually win. I might have had a chance to win.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like that one time.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I was just saying that one time,
Yeah, exactly. So this was also the time. So this was when at this tribal, when the one where Chelsea goes home, this is when Wendell actually got some votes too. And I think this was one of the main times when I was like, all right, Wendell, how are you not playing your idol? How are you this trustworthy of everybody? Because it ended up being, I think it was a 5-3 vote. And it was Kel and Chelsea. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It was Kel and Chelsea and Angela who voted Wendell, and everybody else votes Chelsea. So was like they knew they had Sebastian, like Sebastian was just that close, and like was there any part of you that was like, okay, we should get rid of Wendell here, or would you not have been able to blindside him because he would have read it?
Oh, honey, you all seen a fraction of what me and Laurel were doing out there in those woods that day. Me and her stood there for an hour going back and forth I'm saying, girl, this is our last chance. We're not going to be able to beat these guys if we take them to the end. This is our last chance that we're both together. We have the opportunity to flip and create a move that is best for our resume. She knows, and the thing about Laurel is she was my girl. I love her to death, but she was always like taunting me that she was wanting to do these things too. And then it got up to the final hour when it was time to, kind of go. And she always kind of, I guess, got nervous and backed out. So
when
me and her was going at it that day for sure, because I wanted to write his name down so bad. I did.
So when I think this is one of the questions that I think people sent to us. When you're having these conversations and when she pulls out at the last minute and says, no, we got to stick with them. What was the reasoning? I guess what was the exact reasoning, or did you just say, you're right, I can't break up with you, let's do this together?
Well, what I told her was after we had spat for about an hour, girl, it's fine. I'll let you have this one. That's pretty much what I told her. I didn't want her to be giving bad vibes to Dom and Wendell about me, and like. It was just at a point, though. It was just us finally said, "Girl, this is we're Malolo. We're to show these people that something big can happen, and us Malolos are going to keep it, only so many on." It was just at the point, though. She was just there was times she would say it, and I'd be like, "Thank God," and then she done it to me at the last minute. So it was unfortunate, and that's really why I blew up the way I did at that tribal, was just because that. I knew that was probably the last chance that any of those Navitis could be put in the corner. That they would feel some heat. Malolo had felt heat the entire game. I knew wasn't going to get my way. I know I was going to write Chelsea's name down, and that's one of the biggest things I wish I kind of would have went ahead and done. Went ahead and wrote Wendell's name down and tied it up, and then kind of put pressure on like a Laurel or a Sebastian to flip with me. And I wish that's one thing I would have done. It's probably number one. Just to kind of show people where, that I'm playing the game, but showing them that, some of these that should take the opportunity you're already going to or not. So that's one thing I wish I would have done.
Do you think that Laurel would have ended up flipping if you had forced the tie? Do you think she would have ended up voting Wendell out?
It would have been 50-50. I really don't know. I think if I could have really gotten to her ear, really like try to get it in that moment, but. Knowing her, though, she was so good with those two guys, and that's how another reason why I kind of went the way I did is I knew I was on the bottom. And, I don't blame her. She's playing the game, too. She was in a comfortable position, but it would have been risky. It would have been really risky at that point. But, I tried my best, at travel, maybe to do something, but no. Didn't even get an idol played or anything, which I didn't try to flush any idols that night either. I didn't. I was just wanting to make them feel some heat. That's all it was.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say is, was there any way that you were ever gonna go to rocks, or would there be just no way?
I think in the moment, the way I was that night, the way I was heated, I probably would have went in that one to rocks. Just because I was just like almost done. I wasn't done with it, but I was just so frustrated at that point. But no, I played it safe just because I knew tomorrow was a new day and all that good stuff. But I wished I would have just went ahead and flipped because I knew I wasn't in a good position in the game at that point anyway.
Yeah, and if you end up flipping there, Wendell might go home, or even if you draw rocks, somebody goes home. That's not Chelsea. And maybe you get a straight bullet at somebody. That would have been crazy.
That would have been crazy. You know, it's just what ifs for sure.
Yeah, no. So there was some movement there, and I think that's why people started to get a little frustrated towards the end, was because it was like we can see as while we're watching from the couch, we can say, "Oh my God!" Like I can see where this move should be made. Like, come on, Laurel, do this. Come on, Laurel, do this. And it seemed like we always saw you pushing it, and then something would happen, and then nothing would go down, and then we see the tribal council where you literally I think you lost your mind at the Kellen one when Kellen went home, and you ended up voting for Dominic. And it ended up being a tie, and you were really never in danger of going home. I mean, what was this, just like the final straw of you're not going to be able to pull it out, and you're never going to get the numbers back on your side, or?
Right. Well, you got to think, I had Kellen and Sebastian that I didn't meet until day 20. I didn't meet them until the merge, and then Angela. I never could do anything with Angela. And then you had Dominic, Wendell, and Laurel, which I know Laurel was, so I'm kind of on the bottom of both sides at 7. All these things to work out since Jenna, pretty much. And then by that one, I want to show people that voice. I'm out here to play the game. And I'm not about to let these two guys just pass through, just skirtsy along, thinking they've got everything in a row. And I work with them. I knew what their game plan was. You don't know how many times they wanted to pull Jason and Scott with those idols, throw them up and make a big elaborate. And I didn't want that. I always shot it down. But by that point at 7, I just knew it was a losing game for me. So kind of like a Sierra moment, just, not so much hauling for big moves, but just kind of dropping truth bombs that, hopefully shut something up, or just at that point telling Dominic no. That felt really good.
Yeah.
It was just a release.
I mean, someone had to say it to them. No one else is saying it.
Yeah, everybody was so scared of them and those idols. And sometimes when you play Survivor, you got to go out there to play. And even if you do try it, if it fails, at least you can say you tried. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show people, because I am a big fan and I do see things from the outside. And I knew that how this season was going to end up playing out. And it did that way. Those guys made it to the end. But I seen that. So I had to act upon it.
Yeah, so I'm assuming then if you were to play again, one of your big things would just be to kind of force it into your own hands there. Is that kind of what you're saying, more or less?
I will admit that if I ever played again, there probably wouldn't be any more truth bombs. I think that's coming on.
That was a one-time thing.
That was just where I was at a point where I knew I could, if that makes sense. I knew I wasn't probably going to make it to the end. Why not give them hell while you're still there,
Yeah.
Well,
oh, go ahead, Alex.
No, I was going to ask a head question, so you go.
Well, I was just going to ask with these truth bombs. So, what were these? Because I know Wendell at one point was just every time, and then Dom was every time. What were these truth bombs that you were dropping? And it was probably always directed at them, but how much detail did they get into and everything?
I remember at the Chelsea tribal, Jeff might have been able to ask 2 questions, and then he asked me, and he was like, "Well, what's your thoughts on tonight?" And then I think that's when the truth bomb was born, in a way. I was just so fed up, I am. I'm straight to the point, so that's what was said that night. And ever since then, I thought, well, that caught some attention. That made some ears perk. So why not kind of stick to that strategy? I've never seen anybody fight before. I mean, you have your instances on Survivor where somebody will do that, but I've never seen somebody use it as a full blown strategy. So of course, wanting to try something different, but also that's all I had was left was the truth. I didn't have nothing else. Pretty much.
Yeah, so you're just using it more as like guys, I'm not lying. This is what needs to be done. And it's funny because it seems like it is what needed to be done, and that's why Dominic and Wendell were getting so annoyed by it. It was because you were getting close and getting under their skin, even though you never really had the ammunition to back it up and actually make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, they were probably scared because you were the only person fighting them.
It freaked them out too. Work with them for that, until 4 at what I had made. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah,
what was that last part? You said if you had worked with them, what was that?
Oh, I just said that like if I continue working with them, like, I would have made it to 4, maybe to make 5, but what impact would I have made out there? I probably could have got edited like Angela. It didn't really do much because that's probably how a lot of people felt I was. I was just somebody that was like under the radar, and I also had earworms. Like I would try to throw in a lie there every now and then, just kind of get people on the same track as me. But that's how I played. I was kind of, a low-key player. I wasn't somebody that was big and boastful and stuff until I knew it was needed. But, yeah, that was something that I didn't think I was going to be out there, was a truth bomber, this type of big player. But it's just how it all ended up happening.
Well, what I was going to say is you weren't being big and boastful. And then, on the other hand, Dominic does that thing in Final 6 that might have actually lost in the game, even though from a viewer's perspective, I thought it was a great move. When Sebastian goes home and he makes that whole plea to make sure the votes go to Sebastian. I mean, when you're sitting there, and I think that the reason this rubs so many people the wrong way is because Dominic had done this throughout. But when you're sitting there watching this happen, like what's going through your head? I think you voted for Dominic that night again, right? And it's like, yeah.
Me and Sebastian had a long talk that day. It's Final 6, so we had a little bit more breathing room. We could talk. And he told me that he had this advantage on Ghost Island, and it's an extra vote. If something happened, Angela didn't go along to plan, at least me and him could do something together. So I'm like, okay, I probably
finally.
Yeah, something could be happening. But sure enough, the plan blew up. Somebody, Angela, got the tribal and tried to just play it up that maybe it could be me going that night. Like I really was, I had that performance that I had on night 35 with Kellen, and yeah, it did not go well. So I had told that, and then Dominic, spoke up, and he was just okay, sorry, and he just kind of, tried to truth bomb me back. But it wasn't so much as a truth bomb. It wasn't something to shake anybody up. It was kind of to badger me, to kind of make me, trying to beat me down into the ground, kind of. And a lot of it wasn't shown that the show, so you don't really see everything. Like I was at the point of tears. I was shaking really bad. Like my game had blown up on me at this point, and poor Sebastian tried, and he still didn't even do anything. He still didn't use his extra vote, and I stuck to my word. That's why I tell people where I'm voting at, it's where I'm going to vote at, and it was Dominic again that night, and that's what I wrote down.
Yeah, and so like Angela going and doing that, did you know it was Angela at the time, or did you not find out till like later on, or did you?
I'm guessing the lady. I had told Laurel to vote. People don't know that, but our plan was, to work with it. So when we was at Tribal, I kind of figured that it could have been Laurel, but we didn't have enough time. The curtain was closed and it was time to go Tribal. So I know she didn't really have a chance to. But to find out that it was Angela, like I didn't hardly even know that she knew about the plan. I thought it was really between me and Sebastian. So when it was out, like I found out it was Angela, I was like, oh, well, that's what it was. Laurel didn't tell nothing. It was, Angela. Okay. So it made sense then. but yeah, it was. I can't believe it. She done that. You could tell when we were at finale, she didn't like that she done it either. She was actually crying when they showed it. So
Oh.
Yeah, that's terrible.
she knows she kind of made the bad mistake, I guess. Poor girl.
It was like finally like somebody let Angela in on a plan, and then she just turned and went and told the one person you don't tell. And it really did. I mean, you guys had a chance there, because if that happens, you're looking at a situation where your final three could have been you, Laurel, and Angela, or something like that, or even Seabass in there. I mean, you know, that was very possible. And I mean, who were you looking to go to the final three with? Who did you think you had the best chance against, or who were you willing to go against? And, you know, if you were going to lose, you didn't mind losing to them.
Well, initially, you know, of course I want my girl Laurel. It could have been me and Laurel, and I would have loved for Angela to be there with us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I would have had a great, case if I had been set beside those two. But I'm also somebody that likes to go against the best. And there's been moments, and I was truthful about it, that I told Dom, if something happened, we made it to 4, and I got to choose somebody, I was actually going to choose Dominic and not Laurel, because he was somebody that I could have made a great case against, because he was such just boisterous player, and I wasn't. And I made, great relationships, and I didn't write some of these people's names down. And I think that I played a more smoother thing, because I could have. So Wendell was who I was always scared of, and that's why Wendell ended up getting my vote at the end, because he played a little bit more of a game that I wanted to play in the end. And yeah, he done great. He did great.
Yeah, that was the kind of one of the biggest questions that I had, and one that I saw on Reddit too. At what point did you know that you were going to vote for Wendell? Because we saw, and we had just talked about that with Dominic, your relationship had kind of soured near the end as a result of, these really boisterous tribal councils. Did you know when you got voted out that you were going to vote for Wendell? Or when you went to that final tribal, did that back and forth help you decide?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm completely cut out.
Yeah, I haven't heard a thing.
Let's wait until he catches up with us.
We'll hang out 1 second. We'll see if we can
Well,
there you are.
I probably thought that I had my mind made, actually shown that, I handled that I was going to.
Wait, I think it's
and that big thing that was shown. But that whole game, I never really had. Oh, sorry.
Wait, answer that question all over.
I didn't so sorry to make you.
Sorry, guys. Come down there. Oh, you're fine. What was the? I'm bad for the.
All right, I'm looking at your camera to see if you're okay. I think you're caught up now. Okay. What was my question? Oh, so did you always know that you were going to vote for Wendell at the end? And if so, what's the main reason that you voted for Wendell instead of Dominic?
Okay, so sorry, I know what you asked now, but when a lot of people probably thought that I was a bitter jury member, and you'll see this on my jury speaks out thing, that I didn't have my mind made up until that night. I know that I had used that as strategy to kind of tell Wendell that I was going to vote for Dominic, but that was just all strategy. No mind has been made up by then. But that night, just the way that Wendell carried himself at Tribal, the way that he closed this game out, he had to make the fire. He had won 2 individual immunities at the end of the game. He had a better than any of us out there, had the best social game. He had everybody wrapped around his finger. I never really knew. I knew what his intentions were, but I never really knew where his thoughts were. He was so well about keeping, his face on, like you never could read the guy. And I always viewed Wendell as a bigger threat than Dominic, just because Dominic to me was so much more transparent than what Wendell was. Dominic, I knew what his intention was. He got to where I was just so over Dominic at certain points in the game. With Wendell, he was just a slow progression of being somebody that was capable of winning the game. And I let Dominic actually know this a lot. Me and Dominic were close too. And I always let him know that his little homeboy beside of him is probably going to beat him in the end if he don't get rid of it. Honest about that. But yeah, Wendell was just somebody. He had class, and he was probably the best outplay person that I've ever seen. That camp that we had at Naviti was phenomenal. No wonder everybody was, wanting to be there. It was really because of Wendell. He really had this kind of magnetic thing about him that it just drawed people.
Well, there we have it. I know a lot of people had been wanting to hear that. You're the first jury member we talked to. But I totally
she was on the
jury.
jury.
Oh, jeez, wow, that
wow, Kellen. By the way, you didn't make the jury.
Yeah, Kellen, sorry.
No, well, what I was gonna, because my thing was with you and Dominic, there was one thing, and I forget who got voted out.
Her link with Bradley.
Oh, God. Well, when somebody was gonna get voted out, I forget whose boot it was, but you went up to Dominic and you told him what was going on, that somebody had come up to you and said they wanted to get rid of him or that something was going to go down. And you just went right up to Dominic and told him. And that's when I was like, you guys need to watch out for this, because Dominic's not having to go up to other people. Other people are just going up to him. So when did it really turn for you? I know you said you were close with Dom, but when did it kind of turn for you where he became your number, 3 or 4, as opposed to being your, one of your closest?
To the point where I knew it, the way those guys were playing, where they were at the top, and it just worked with the top and get to the me. We ought to really band together as smaller people, as ones that's more on the bottom, and make something happen. So once the numbers got down to about 8, but more or less knowing at around 11, when Dez, like I was telling you about Dez, knowing around that time that they were going to be big threats, and then getting to 8 and knowing that they are. And, going from 10 to 8 was like a whirlwind too. You missed an opportunity at 9.
Yeah. And then you ended up going home at 5. And there was really nothing you could do. I mean, when Wendell got up and played the thing for Laurel, that was pretty much just to solidify that he had Laurel's back no matter what, right?
Which I appreciated that too. I mean, Laurel's my girl. I'd not want anything or anybody else to have anything played on them but her. So as bad as it was also kind of nice to watch her get that.
And you knew it was you, right? You knew.
Yeah, I knew it that whole day. I'd say my goodbyes and my piece. And, I had a really rough few days between day 30 and day 36 because, I was frustrated and I really wanted to come out there and win and show people at least I wanted to play. So my mind wasn't in the best spot, but after Sebastian was gone and after that whole fiasco, I kind of just let it all go and had a big smile on my face for the rest of the time just because I knew it was me. But, I want to go with class, and I think I did at Final 5, and I was satisfied with it. I was.
Yeah, I mean, Final 5's nothing that's the last real vote out, nowadays.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was the first vote red and the last vote red of the season, so I'll take that.
Wow.
Wow, that's there you go.
So if you had participated in the fire making challenge, how do you think you would have done?
I would have lost.
With confidence.
That's the thing, though. I'd watched every season before this, and they threw that fire making challenge twist thing on us before the game, but I was not prepared for that. I didn't prepare myself to have to make fire at 4. I had things going on at home, so I didn't have all the time. Probably they did too. I had a lot of work and stuff, but I tried to make it. It just wasn't happening.
So I don't know if someone had answered this earlier, but when did Jeff tell you guys that this was the new deal for the Final 4? Did he tell you at the beginning of the season?
It was before, just because it was a new thing and they, was wanting to continue on with it, so they had to inform us about it. And that was another thing I got so paranoid about then, is knowing that I couldn't make fire. I didn't put that much effort into it as I would have thought I needed to, because you see players that's weak like me make it to 4, they can vote somebody out. Like you see in third 33, you have that opportunity, and then to find out I ain't got no opportunity at 4, and then have to make it to 3, like that's a big obstacle course for somebody like me that has to make fire.
And do you think any of them, if Laurel had won immunity, would she have taken you, or how do you think that would have went down? Because Dominic ended up taking Laurel and then making Wendell do the fire. Do you think that had you still been sitting there, would Dominic have taken you to the end because he would have thought Laurel had a better chance to make the fire? Or?
No, I knew I was always on the bottom just because those guys probably thought of me as a bigger threat than Laurel probably ever was. And they knew that I wasn't no lapdog, and she kind of could have been, was a few times. So, yeah, of course they wasn't going to take me to the end. I was so open about my story. A lot of people were kind of scared of going against me for my story as well. But I didn't pull like an Adam or a Jeremy. I didn't wait until the end. I went ahead and let it out at the first tribal because I figured that could also be an advantage. A lot of people just knowing my story and, having kind of a heartstring pulled. So I used that as a tactic to kind of use at the beginning of the game. And I really think it kind of got me further than what I thought it probably than what I thought it did at the beginning. So I look back on that and I'm glad I did kind of laid it out at that first tribal.
Mm-hmm. Now, when this happens where Dominic ends up winning the final immunity, and we know that he had discussed possibly sitting next to Wendell and doing the fire, what would have happened if he would have taken Wendell to the end with him, as opposed to having Wendell prove himself and make the fire and win and get another notch in his belt? Would it have been better for Dom to just take him and say, look, I brought him here?
100%. That's what Dominic really should have done. He should have took his little pat on with and not give him the opportunity that he did to kind of prove himself with fire. I mean, that was an electrifying thing to watch in real life, sitting and watching a fire challenge on Survivor. It's a Final Four. Like hello, that's going to be a big marker for who wins that fire challenge. 2 for 2. Ben made it and won, and then Wendell made it and won. So we'll see if the trend continues.
Well, and it almost seems like it's become like the person who used to win immunity at Final 3 and then they would vote somebody out. They always had a hard time pulling all the votes because they voted out somebody. And even though they brought somebody to the end with them, like they pissed somebody else off now. So that's probably somebody's vote you're not going to get. Whereas this one, it's like if Dominic's able to say, look, I didn't have to vote either of you off and I brought Wendell here. Like, would you have voted for Dominic or would you still have voted for Wendell?
It probably would have leaned me a little bit more towards Dominic just because Wendell didn't have to put in the work at the end. He kind of, got carried along. And that's why I felt kind of, not to bring it 35, but that's why I feel bad for Ryan from that season. Is because it was thrown on like that night. And I'm sure that guy might have had a good game, but he got carried to the end. So people perceived it as he might have not done much. So when you do that with Wendell, if Dominic would have done that, people probably would have perceived that. But he gave him the opportunity after winning 2 immunity challenges to make fire. And that's what I thought was, a bad thing for Dominic's game.
Yeah.
And so we finally get to the votes. You vote Wendell, everyone starts voting, and we have the most insane 3 minutes of Survivor history. Like Phil and I've talked about this. Like I was screaming at my TV by myself. It was insane. And you got the best cut. You got the like, oh my God. What was that like? Like talk about that. What was that like?
Oh my God. Like you'll see like me talking to Kellen or somebody right before the votes, when he goes to tally them or whatever, like, thank God this is over, guys. Like, this is, it's like a breath out, like, phew, okay. And then you see Jeff come and stand, and he's just all, we're going to read the votes. And you're like, oh my God, like, what's about to happen? Like, are we finding out the winner? Is there a tie? Like, why is he going to read these votes? So that's what's going through my mind. And then that's kind of why you get the, oh my God, is because I kind of realized there at that moment that it's probably a tie. And I knew what happened in a tie. Laurel had to cast a vote to the side. So my mind was blown.
And
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want to say I don't know if very many people noticed this from the edit, but like every vote that I cast, I would put an exclamation point at my vote. That was another tactic I used to show people that I was sticking with them, and they caught on to it. But somebody voted Dom down, and they put an exclamation point beside his name. So when he first sees that, he thinks that's my vote, and then right after that Dom votes for the exclamation point, they read the Wendell vote with the exclamation point. And he could tell from my writing that was my vote.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So who wrote?
So there's so many added layers onto that. Huh? Sorry.
Who wrote Dom with the exclamation point?
I'm not really sure. I just noticed that from like the way they edited it. I never watched our vote things, but I noticed that somebody used one, and it probably like freaked Dominic out there for a little got his vote, and then to see that I actually voted for with an exclamation point. Yeah, that was a little bit of editing I noticed from that.
That's really funny. So when all these votes are read and it ends up being a tie, Kellen told us about that moment where you just realized what was going to go down. Everybody knew Laurel was going to vote for Wendell, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know that he read the votes and it was a tie, and we was wondering if he was going to read that last vote, but we already knew what that last vote was. It was for Wendell, so it was kind of like since Borneo, I think, there before they left the stage, and that's kind of how it was with us. We all knew who was walking away with it that night.
Yeah, that's crazy because Laurel had just built up the better relationship.
Mind blowing.
Now, what happens if you had been, let's say it had been Angela in that third seat? Who do you think Angela would have ended up voting for?
I voted for Dom just because I think that she had a closer thing with Dom, and I think she was more bitter about it. She really thought, I guess, Dom was going to take her to the end. But I think if she was sitting there with Dom, that she probably would have voted for Dom. I do believe so.
Wow, that's insane because, yeah, Angela ended up voting for Wendell, so it still would have been a tie, and then Angela would have ended up voting for Dom if she was at the final three. That would have been crazy.
Wow.
That would have been so crazy. So that just shows, I mean, it's still – it's
insane. There's like –
it's the beauty right now of this season, the ending of it is like – it felt like an old school type thing where it was like that one vote changed everything. One speech or one thing you said, Sue Hawk gives the rad speech and it actually gets people to vote for Wigglesworth and she almost pulls out the win. And like, that's what this was like. It was like one word could have just been the difference.
I mean, it was a electric final tribal council. I do kind of like the format now, although a lot of people kind of still have their things about it. But having an open forum like that, you can really dig into their minds. And we had a really good open forum discussion that night. And just to see that it ended the way it did, it was kind of just like the perfect little ending. It was these two guys playing the game together the whole game, and to see it tie up, and then their closest ally had to break the tie.
Yeah.
You just can't get much better than that, especially seeing it live. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say then is you were just talking about how oh man, I completely lost it, but it was a good thought. I lost it, Alexa. Alexa saved me.
Maybe the Angela vote.
Oh, it was the final. It was okay. So at this final three, the tie, I completely lost. It's going to come back to me and I'm going to yell it out. I just had a complete brain fart. I apologize. It was going to be good too, I swear.
I do it too. Don't feel bad.
I swear. All right, Alexa, save me.
I'm just trying to think of what it could be. So we're concerned about the final three. Maybe how it's a tie no matter what. I'm trying to jog your memory from an old school season.
I'll figure it out. It'll come back at some point. I'll end up jumping up and interrupting somebody.
Here's my thing. I mean, I know that many things would have happened for this situation to have occurred, but let's say it's Dom, Wendell, and you. You are the 11th member of the jury. What's your move? Do you still vote for Wendell?
I'm probably going to be a little bit of an Angela here. I probably would have voted for Dominic just because I would have taken him to the end, and I begged. I didn't really about begged for him to take me to the end because I did kind of have a better bond with him at some point because we had more days together and we had worked at certain points together. But it just got to where he just played the game that kind of, I don't want to say Russell Hantz type but like his final days kind of what lost in the game. But for him, if I was at the end with him, though, knowing that he kept his word to me to the end, it probably would have made it an easier decision for me to kind of write Dominic's name down at the end, because they're both almost on a parallel. They're both kind of like, you got the great social game, you got the great strategic game, and they're riding along here. So, yeah, I probably would have voted for Dominic if he would have taken me to the end.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. He just had to get you there, and then you would have ended up voting. I feel like Dominic had a lot of outs here, and I think that's probably why, he beats himself up a little bit with it, because it's like he knows that there was a couple things he could have done. And I mean, that's what was great though about this ending, is he had 5 or 6 different options he could take. He had so many different choices to make going into that last tribal council, and it really was like, it's tough to decide which one's the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's why he passed like I passed. And I tried, it didn't work out for me, but, I tried, and I wish he could have tried to maybe doing a little bit of something there at the end to kind of maybe get Wendell out, full Wendell for once, try to get the person that's going to probably beat you at the end there. But, like, I know I had more of the strategic side with Dominic, and strategically, if he would have taken me to the end, there's no way I could not have voted for him, but he didn't. So it opened up my vote, and it really gave me a day or two to kind of look at both of their games and see really who played the best game. And for me, my eyes were more on Wendell than Dominic. It's just an individual decision, and that was my decision that night, was that I thought Dominic Wendell had played the better overall game. He did.
Yeah. And so let's say, here's a question I think that came up in our chat as we were doing this. So was there ever a time that you would have ever turned on Laurel, or were you and Laurel just, because I know like it seemed like you and Laurel wanted to play different styles, but would you have ever turned on her, or was that just never going to happen?
Looking back, I mean, I hate to say this, there's probably chances that I wish I would have kind of went against Laurel, maybe got them to write Laurel's name down. It probably breaks her heart. But just knowing that I put all of my coins in a bucket for her, and then to have her there at the moments when we really needed each other, and I didn't have her, she kind of went on along with the other two. Yeah, that kind of makes me question my decision to sticking around with her as much as I did. But she was also my best friend, my greatest ally out there, and I was, faithful enough to her, faithful enough to at least show people that my number was with her. So I know that's what Dominic and Wendell were trying to do, but like we had mentioned before, I kind of wish Dominic would have not just went ahead and picked Wendell at the, would have had a better chance probably at that final day. So
I saw one good question on our someone tweeted at us. She said, if you had the chance, name one person who you would take from the pre-jury phase and be able to drop them into the merge to have helped you gone farther. Who do you think, like, in addition to Laurel, could have helped you elevate your game to that final tribal council or to getting yourself to win?
A lot of people, my first, thought would be James, that, he should really be the first one, but really Stephanie Johnson, I think, is the first one that would come to mind for me. James had a bigger threat on him, just being who he was, and the way he looked. He had all those abs and muscles, and he would have been a bigger threat in the merge. But I think me and Stephanie could have done what me and Laurel did. We were both kind of weaker and smaller. And, I think that I could have benefited having her there for the merge, just because we are weaker, and we could have really happened while we were there. And I really think that she went to flip with him what Laurel. Me and her I have so much respect for Stephanie. One day I'm hoping that they bring her back. I
do. Who from this season? Who do you, so you? I'm assuming you would play again if they asked you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's right, honey.
Like who else do you think like if when you're out there playing, who do you think maybe could learn? Because it seems like you learned a lot while you were out there, and you realize like you're a huge fan, and you might have like sat on your hands a couple times and maybe not pushed it your way. But who else do you think could really learn from their time out there this first time around and do a lot better on a second time and maybe surprise some people?
You know, he's an early boot, but I really say Jacob. You know, I know that Jacob has a lot of knowledge of the game. He's a big fan. He's wrote for Inside Survivor. He was at a point in his life where he was like me. You know, I quit smoking, but he was losing weight. Like we were both kind of like this same kind of archetype, even though we're completely different. But I think that he realized a lot of his mistakes, the way he came out so hard, leaving us for 2 hours looking for idols and, you know, doing Jacobisms. And like, you know, I think if he ever got to come back, I think we would be very surprised by Jacob.
There you go.
All right, you heard it here first.
There you go. I think I hear where you're coming from, because I do think that he's another one. He came out at a weird time for him, and he played it really hard. And I mean, how was the sock rice? Was it good? We asked Brendan this. I need to know.
I'm guessing so. Like I had no knowledge of that either. So I guess when you're hungry enough, you don't really, you know, pay attention to it. Like, but it floored me when I seen it. I'm like, oh my God, we had ate that rice. But we didn't eat much of it. We didn't eat much of it while I was there because we had the least amount ever. So we were really watching how much we had. So I didn't get to eat a whole lot of the sock rice, thank God.
Yeah. So then the only really, I mean, the last part of this journey to ask then is, you got one of the bigger send-offs here at the reunion. You got to go out on stage. Sia came out and she made her second appearance at the finale. I mean, you looked absolutely shocked while you're up there on that stage. I mean, what was that like? Like that big of a moment to know that Sia was that touched by the story?
It was amazing. I had to just watch myself get voted out. You know, I was sitting there watching everything, and then hearing the crowd, you know, and their reaction. Like I was feeling all kinds of emotions already, and then having to go out here and answer these questions for Jeff in front of live national television. Like all these layers were there, and then to hear that Sia was there and was like giving me 10 grand, like that absolutely floored me. But I am so thankful for that. It has helped my life out already tremendously. I love her as an artist. I'm probably one of the biggest Sia fans that they've been. So to have her do that for me and to get to meet her and get a picture and a hug, like that's how I take it. The whole experience for me was what I wanted. So something that I'll never forget. And like it was amazing. It really was. I love her.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. With those questions that Jeff was asking you, did he at least prep you beforehand? Did you know what was coming, or was he just like, you know what, Donathan, get on this stage in front of a live audience for the first time, and we're gonna like throw you to the wolves here?
Kind of, sort of. They kind of let me know that I would be talking about like my past and like my backstory, kind of what got me on the show. So I kind of had a feeling of what to talk about. But just knowing that there's a live camera there, like your Aunt Patty's out in the audience, you know, there's so much going on, and you know it's a long day. So my brain was fried by that moment. But I just, you know, I poured it out. I tried to do the best I could, and I think I did. So I'm getting used to this whole life of the camera.
There you go. Not bad.
When you're live at the reunion, that's super intense. But when you're on the island, is it weird talking to people and having intimate conversations with like 7 cameras up your butt? Like that just seems difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially for somebody like me that, you know, when I sent my audition video in, one of the things I said is I never wanted this for fame. I wanted this, you know, to play Survivor. So I never did anything like that in my life, to put it that way. So when I got out there and those cameras were in my face, you know, you're thinking, you know, they got this for life. You know, what you say, it may not make the show, but they've got it. So, you know, I definitely try to watch what I said. Just after a few days though, you kind of get used to it. They're just kind of part of nature by that point. But the first few days, and definitely like the media days, I definitely had to, kick it into high gear when I was just like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I loved every minute though. I loved every minute.
Mm-hmm. I've always wondered that because the conversations flow so naturally, but I would be like, people are eventually going to watch me. I'm not normal in front of this camera.
Which is what's so weird though is that you'll think of all these things that you talk about out there, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to make the show. This is going to make the show. But then you watch the show and it's also edited. You really ain't got much to worry about. We talk strategically and then, just talk about whatever you want to. The strategic's what makes the show. So.
It's not like the older seasons where they would actually air you saying stuff personal about some people or some of the things you might not want to hear. I mean, I was watching an episode of Pearl Islands today, and some of the things Fairplay said, I'm like, oh my God, if he said that nowadays, what in the world would happen? But it wouldn't, like you just said, it wouldn't even make the TV, but as a huge fan, it used to.
Like I think one of the most, I guess, is kind of like me and Laurel on the beach. I think that was one of the things that I kind of thought would make the show. That was kind of heartfelt and kind of opening up my world, kind of. But something like that kind of made the show. I kind of figured I guess it's going to be a little bit more of a heartfelt thing these days.
Yeah. They want their strategy and they want the moment where you're crying. Those are the only two things they want.
And they got him.
Yeah.
Heads up for those two are the criteria.
Yeah.
No, I got to start crying if I ever get on the show.
I'll let you cry all the time.
Oh yeah, I cry all the time.
Yeah. I have to calm her down before every single episode. She just cries.
Turn on the family visit. You'll knock me
out.
Me too.
Oh, every time.
It's so emotional. We were boo-hooing out there so much. Like Jeff was like, I think this is the most anybody's ever cried, like the whole group. But it was great. Great it was.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess like what style like of season, like, because like if you were obviously if you were to like come back and play, like when you've been a huge fan, like what style of season would you like have wanted to play on? Like if you were to come back again, would you be like a fans versus favorites, an all-star, maybe like one of those two people lead a tribe thing? Like what do you think like you would have wanted to do like before you went out there?
Well, you just mentioned Pearl Islands. That's kind of what I thought the kind of season I would want to be a part of, something more spooky, and then I got on Ghost Island. I thought, well, yes. I got my season. It's kind of going to be spookier and like, and then it wasn't. Chris got the spooky, but if I was to ever go back, I would love to just be on a full All-Star season. I don't really like the whole split up between fans versus favorites. I mean, it's good TV, but those other ones always have the more of advantage than the people that's new. So I definitely would love to be on like a second chance, full All-Stars. That'd be fine with me, but I don't care. I'll play any of them.
yeah, exactly. Right. They ask you and it's like, yeah, sure. That sounds good.
I would definitely go on fans versus favorites, guys.
Yeah, exactly. No questions asked.
But Aunt Patty confirms that she would play Survivor. So if there's ever a blood versus water season, me and Aunt Patty would be game.
There you go. That would be amazing. And you would be talking to somebody and she'd be standing there smiling, excited as anything, and
in her dress.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Gotta wear the same dress.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know on Reddit somebody was like, she's dressed for every occasion. Wedding, funeral, Survivor.
What more could you need?
Amazing. Well, we're pretty much at the 2 hour. We're pretty much at the 2 hour mark here, Donathan. I know we had a couple internet issues, but this was fantastic. You gave us so much insight into two tribes we didn't know anything about because we hadn't talked to anybody from those two tribes, and we got to hear kind of your side.
I'm hoping by next time that if it's my side that it gets fixed.
Oh, it's totally fine. It's just, it was nice to hear the whole, the point of view from you for the merge, because we heard Kellen's point of view once the merge hit, but it's good to hear. It seemed like you were on the bottom and then got to the top, whereas Kellen was on the top and then worked her way to the bottom. So it's interesting to hear the other side of that. But do you have anything else? Do you have anything that you kind of want to like say here, maybe to end on, or to throw out there? Any other story that you really want to tell?
One last
Oh
internet.
gosh. Let me think of one real fast. Good question. There's so much that happens out there. Trying to think of a good one for you guys.
Well, when you're on Blood versus Water with Aunt Patty, then we'll have one then.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm thinking about. Yeah, there's just so much. I mean, I spent out there, so there's so much that I can, talk about. But, just thinking of just like challenges, being so scared at first, and not doing so well in the immunity challenges, but kind of being more confident as the time went on about like climbing at the ladder and like doing little small things that kind of helped my team go forward. I think that's something I'm kind of proud of. I kind of overcame that fear of survivor challenges because they terrified me. I knew what I was getting into, but I was very terrified by challenges. So to go out there and kind of do as well as I did in them, that's something I'll take home with me forever. So that's one thing I can kind of tell people I'm proud of. I'm proud of my athletic abilities.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like that's like exactly what Kellen said too. Like she won like an immunity challenge. Like, whoa, I'm a threat. Like, it's funny.
And it's so funny because I told Kellen that day. She kept telling me, no, I'm never going to win one. She went and won that day, and I was like, girl, you're going to. And she ended up doing it that day. So Kellen was a good person out there. She was a great survivor player, and I love her. I do.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kellen was great, and it's fun to hear like how everybody has said the same thing after we watched that edit.
I'm all for girl power. I love seeing those girls going out there and dominating the way they did. I loved it.
Was there any chance that you were gonna help the Girl Alliance out there? Because it seemed like Dez and Chelsea and Kellen. Was there any chance that you could have maybe tried to work with them to take out the big guys, or was it just too little, too late?
Yeah, if it was possible at the Dez vote, like I'd mentioned, that was where I was really wanting to place my feet in somewhere, because Dez and Angela, Chelsea. We could have got maybe Jenna and Michael. Like, there's a group there that could have made something happen, but then the plan blew up. So we all had to kind of reevaluate where we were, and I had to jump ship from all that and, kind of pile drive Dez down into the ground, tell them, the truth. So, so there was chances I did want to work with those girls. It just never worked out into my favor. I was somebody that always tried to do stuff, but never worked out.
Yeah, that's a shame. It seems like because I know Ghost Island got mixed reviews here from the community, and it seems like it was just a lot of like things that were so close to happening, and then something would just like spin it off in the wrong direction, or something would just go wrong at the last second every time.
Yeah, like you guys. It's just I was there. I know that there was things happening people wouldn't like, and I try to change it up. At least I tried. It's like the Bart Simpson thing. Like, my birthday's in like a few weeks, so that's the cake I'm going to get.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. All right. Well, I mean, if there's anything else, Alexa, what else do you have anything else, or is there any other question you have?
Well, I guess I have one quick question. So you were talking about how you were afraid of the challenges at the beginning, and then near the end you were a little more comfortable with them. How did you prepare or train or starve yourself in preparation once you found out you were going to be on the show?
I did nothing at all. That's the bad part. I didn't have time to gym and run and stuff, so I quit smoking. That was the biggest thing.
That's great.
But then I had gained weight. Like, I ate Krispy Kremes like for 2 weeks straight. I did my preparation, quit smoking, and then by weighing this first time I'm going out. So if I ever get another chance, I'm definitely going to be more prepared, I guess I should say. So
Everyone has a different way of preparing, so I love to know how everyone does it. So Krispy Kremes, that's what you do.
That's the move.
That is your go-to because you had Ryan. He was a really skinny guy, but I didn't see Ryan, so I knew I was going to be this real skinny guy too. So I had to gain some weight. I had to get some fat on these abs and stuff. So.
There you go. So that's what you do, everybody. If you're ever going to be on Survivor, eat Krispy Kremes, but don't smoke.
Right. Because like a lot of people, like they were big, Chris and James, and I bet Brenda might have talked about how sick he got. But it seems like the bigger you are, it's like you ain't got so much to burn off, if that makes sense, like body fat. So these guys really struggled. They really struggled out there. So I didn't. I never had a problem one day, and it's because I had all this fat on me.
Yeah, but that's what Brennan was saying to us. He said that he would just walk around and fall over, and he would just down I go.
It's like in a day, Brendan's stomach did this, like curved in.
Oh my God!
Like, the guy looked like he had been there for like 2 weeks already on day 2.
Oh my God!
And then he would start to vomit in the vomit pile.
That's what it is. It's why everybody got so mad. He probably passed out right in it.
Oh my God, what a visual.
I know.
All right, well, if that's not a way to end this, then I don't know what could be.
That's perfect. My first podcast, guys. That's the way to end it.
Great job.
You did a very, very good job, Donathan. We had a great time.
Thank you.
I mean, it was, we got so much input into what was going on out there. It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and anytime you guys want me back, I will be here.
Of course. Hey, we do it, and I'm sure you followed us at least a little bit in the season where we had the old players come on to do some power rankings and stuff. So
we'll give you a
we
call.
love doing that.
Expect me for 37.
We will. Yeah, there you go.
Totally. Yeah, we'll do
it.
So Alexa, I guess if you wanna close us out,
I can wrap us up. This is actually, I wanted to bring this up anyways. So normally I say, oh, we'll be back we'll be back sometime too soon. We're about to go into the 4th of July week, which is a little sketchy. We don't have an exact date of when we'll be live again, but hopefully all of you have been paying attention. Phil has been posting every other day, every 2 or 3 days, his pre-merge power rankings. They've been really good. They've been super funny. Posted part 2 yesterday. Part 3 is coming this Saturday. So keep an eye out for those in the meantime as we try to schedule a couple more interviews. Also in the meantime, follow us on Twitter. I am not exaggerating. I went onto our Twitter analytics website to confirm this. After you tweeted at us saying you were coming on, we got 29 followers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but to us, that is huge. So Donathan, if you just ever tweeted us again, we might just blow up and become the next RCAP. So that would be awesome. But in the meantime, tweet at us, like us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes, subscribe.
Awesome.
All that good
followers.
Stuff.
Thank you guys.
Yes. No, thank you, Donathan. We had so much fun talking to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, guys.
All right. We'll be back.
Oh, wait, Alexa, did you not close out yet? I can't tell.